Jeff Arend. A lot of smoke off the tires on Jeff Arend's car. Mike Dunn and I are still looking for that day when we have long, smoky burnouts.
Jeff Arend and his team had some unexpected adventure earlier today before the first qualifying session. Routine warm-up, and something went wrong with the push rods. So they decided that they would totally rebuild the power plant before the first session. And that's something that normally doesn't get done except during elimination rounds on Sunday.
Look, we have the special camera up on the first qualifying run. Watch the tires.
See, going and that tire shake just rattles it and loses that contact area, which you can't put the power. But look how quick he caught it. I think he just started to whisk the tire, and Jeff was right out of it. And that's the key when you have to backpedal on race day, is catch it quick initially. The quicker you catch it, the less you have to stay out of it to get to recover when you step back on the gas.
Well, and a couple of the track whispers, the guys who study the track and everything, point out that it is kind of rough. Maybe we can get a shot of it eventually, but there is not as much contact point on the track itself because of the grooves.
The grinding. Yeah, that starts at about just around, what, 170 feet out, and it goes to the 700-foot mark where the concrete ends.
Right, when you need it.
That's a good pass.
Yeah, Ren 437, 433 for Lee, and Arend is going to get up to 8th. Paul Lee was already sitting there at 4th, but that gets Jeff up into the top half of the field.
You've seen that look from your dad before. Was he happy with that?
That was his happy look.
Hey,
yeah.
look at this.
It was birthday time over in the Tasca area. Happy birthday, Bob. And now we have him here. We can say it. Should we sing it? No.
Happy birthday to you.
Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, dear Bob Tasca III.
Happy birthday to you.
Bob, it's not just you. Wasn't your dad's birthday, what, yesterday or something?
Thanks, guys. You got to stick with your day jobs, though. Definitely not in the singing career. But yeah, it's my dad's birthday on Sunday. He's turning 60, and my grandmother turned 86 today. I was born on her birthday, her first grandchild. So big weekend for us. We got to try to get a Wally for these birthdays this weekend.
All right, I'm going to set you up. What did he get you? A Ford?
Yeah, when I was 16, I got a Ford Mustang when I turned 16.
Hey, what was it like driving that
Shelby
Cobra here this last week?
Yeah, you know something, that was a neat experience. I've never driven an AC Cobra, an original Cobra before. I was so impressed with just how smooth the car was for how old it is, over 40 years old, ran 13.8 mile, 117 miles per hour. Not quite as fast as my Shelby, but man, it was a cool ride.
Oh, that's cool. My Shelby. I love that. I love that. Hey, have a good weekend, guy. Good seeing you, and happy birthday.
Thanks, guys.
Well, here comes John Force and the Napa car. That's Ron Cass.
Well, I turned 55 and I went to Perkins to get the senior discount on the breakfast.
Nothing.
I found out that's a scam because they give you less food. I thought you got the same amount of food for less price.
Kidding me.
Man, I was so looking forward to getting the senior breakfast, and it wasn't nothing what I imagined. Once again,
welcome to my world, Mike Dunn. Welcome to my world.
That's why I always go to the Waffle House. What are you doing later tonight?
There you go. Pork chop eggs.
Pork chops, applesauce, eggs.
Pick up the phone, call to Congress. I'm sure they'll solve it.
They solve everything.
Well, John Force, he's not in there right now. He's trying to find a good position in this field. Caps, same thing.
5 straight round 1 losses, man. That hurts. And the car's actually run pretty good in qualifying. But Ron Capps, talk to him. He really likes these conditions because remember, most of the crew chiefs are going back to the information they had in Dallas. Remember, Ron Capps was runner-up to Cruz Pentagon in Dallas. He feels that Tim Richards has a really good handle on the hot racetrack. They put a new front half on this Napa car, and he just feels really confident coming into this race.
You know, in talking with John Force up in the bus that I was talking about earlier, he pretty much did admit to me, he says, you know, there's so much on my plate. Of course, he's got his brand new grandson, Jacob, and then coming up in Pomona, that whole nostalgia area basically is going to be reserved for he and about 26, 27, 28 of his cars. The road show, it's going to be a zoo back there.
Wow.
Well, there are not going to be any numbers out of that anybody's going to be able to appreciate or use.
I was surprised.
Certainly. Ron Capps is not in, and neither is John. They are both below that 12th mark.
Let's watch him smoke the tires here, Mike. You can probably figure out something, but he's bringing so much equipment to the finals where he's going to be one of the legends. He's even brought 2 semi-trucks from Indianapolis. So
when you do that, you got stuff.
There's going to be more stuff out there, and John is wigging out about it like only John can.
See, John, now that was a classic case of just they spun the tires too hard initially and drove up into tire smoke. Remember, they're always trying to create a certain amount of wheel speed. We always talk about that, but there's a range they try to get. If it's too slow, if the wheel's not spinning fast enough, it goes in that tire shaking smoke. That was just a condition of just overpowering the racetrack at the hit of the throttle.
That's Capps as they capture him down at the top end, get the helmet off and everything. We've got a camera. There's Jimmy Prock. That's Robert Height's guy. They're on the line, and will be coming up shortly along with Jack Beckman. Beckman over there on the right.
Well, you know, there were a lot of well, less than happy crew chiefs back there today, and I know we all went back there and tried to talk with them about how to navigate this racetrack, and it is just super tough. And you know, you couldn't hardly get Jimmy to say anything because, well, he really didn't know what to expect until they made that first pass today.
Well, and the issue we talk about the grooves in the racetrack from the grinding. Now you got to remember, you know, you run slicks because you want more contact area. You don't have grooves in your passenger car tires is to get rid of the water when it rains and moisture on the road. Obviously, they run on a dry surface here, so they're trying to get the contact. The grooves that are ground into the surface, it's like having tread. So instead of having 100% contact area, and I'm just going to throw out a number, you might only have 70% contact area. So obviously, you can't get aggressive with your tune-up.
The first burnout was Jack Beckman. The second, Jim Head down at the far end. Here is Ron Capps, driver of the Napa car. And Ron, I got to ask you, what are you more excited about, racing in Phoenix this weekend or looking ahead 1 week in the nostalgia car we were talking about? It's going to be a bunch of this, the good old school guys and a weekend of debauchery. Who's all going to be down there?
It's going to be great. They've already got 37 cars pre-entered. It's the Hot Rod Reunion. There's almost 40 nostalgia funny cars vying for 16 spots. Chad Head got his license not too long ago, and just a whole bunch of guys hanging. A lot of Coletta's guys. Tommy DeLago's coming. Glenn that works under him. A lot of DSR guys. It's just going to be a big hangout. Mike Lewis is driving.
Ace McCullough's going to come.
Ace is coming to hang out. So it's going to be a lot of fun, but we don't get to go do that without doing well here, so we're going to concentrate on this. But next weekend will be a lot of fun. Can't wait.
Did we mention Tommy DeLago? I mean, the after activities could be out of control.
Well, the rumor is I go because Dell and Chuck Worsh should make it so much fun. They give me a great car to drive. It's the Blue Max chassis with a new Plymouth Aero body on it, and there's a rumor maybe the Margarita machine might make an appearance like it did at the March meet, and so it's just a great time.
Thanks, Ron.
You got it, man.
Jim Head and Jack Beckman. 423 for Head goes number 1. How about that? And Beckman 427. That's going to put him up in the 2nd spot. Wow. You know, I love it. Jim Head on the countdown. He shows up. Sometimes he doesn't. But boy, when he comes prepared.
Well, and the key is he was aggressive through the middle of the racetrack. 250 miles per hour. 8 miles. That was faster than we've seen by far any other race car. Jack was one of the second fastest. He was only 243 miles per hour at the 8. So that's a good indication. A lot of the teams are watching those numbers back in the pits on their handhelds, and they'll sit there and say, okay, if the track can hold that, we can be more aggressive through the middle than maybe we thought we could when we first went up there. So now you'll start seeing the times come down, hopefully.
You know, let's go back to what Ron Capps was talking about. And I know there are a few of us in the room that have seen the Margarita machine he was talking about. Margarita machine. It's a nitromethane powered engine that will spin up 20 gallons of margaritas at the hit of the throttle.
20 gallons.
If you've never seen it, 4 or 5 gallon buckets. It is incredible. Keep in mind, though, once the thing fires up, it doesn't get serviced real regularly. So you might want to stand back.
I've seen it run. It's scary.
You have to go to the Bonneville salt flat to get enough salt to put around the rim of that rascal.
Well, right now we got Melanie Troxel and Tony Petragon, and you see the shadows are going over the racetrack, pulling it off much better, and that run by Jim Head is a good indication that the conditions are definitely coming around.
So Pedragon and Troxel with the sun almost gone. Beautiful sunsets here in Arizona. And you see with the camera, they did to everybody we've talked to what they do to you and I. Turn, face the sun, look right into that bright sun and smile.
Never works out, does it?
No, it never seems to. Tony Pedragon upset Tim Wilkerson, the higher qualifier in the first round back at Maple Grove.
So Leah Pruitt looking over Melanie Troxel. Remember, Leah tried to qualify at Maple Grove and was unsuccessful in doing so. So she's looking hopefully to be able to get enough funding to team up with Melanie next year on a two-car operation. She ran nostalgia funny car too, one of the best out there, won the championship. Drove also for Steve Kluger, as we talked about with Tom Senko.
You heard that big tease I did at Maple Grove. I'm going to tell you why she changed her hair from blonde.
Why is that?
I'm going to tell you.
Wait.
She wanted to. She said, probably not a good branding move, but I did.
I like it.
Oh. 440 for Melanie, 445 for Tony. Melanie just barely makes it in, and Tony Pedragon is not yet in. That sends us back up to the top end. And Jim Head, #1 qualifier right now. What is going on with you?
Well, just for right now, the track's a lot better than we're showing. I think you're going to see a couple of pretty good runs here in a minute.
Jim, we heard Ron talk about next week the Hot Rod Heritage Series with the nostalgia funny cars. Your son Chad Head got his license in it. Who's going to drive that car next week? Is it going to be you or Chad?
Well, we're going to go test and see how he does. If he passes my school, maybe he can drive it. I'm pretty sure he's going to drive it.
Okay, you think he can do the job, huh?
Well, we'll find out.
I know he can.
You know how it is to drive for your dad.
Yeah, don't I ever. Well, I'm sure you're much easier to drive for than my dad.
Oh, that's what everybody says.
That was Chad Head that you got a picture of a minute ago. Nice going, Jim.
Thanks.
All right. Jim Head, #1 qualifier. And back to the line. Whoa, Matt Hagan, Robert Height, neither one in the top 12. Robert with that great move at Maple Grove that moved him up to 4th, 5 race wins of the year. Hagan still #1, tied with Matt.
Mike, how significant is this moment for these guys, considering that you get 2 more chances tomorrow, and it's going to be another 100-degree day, and the qualifying sessions come earlier tomorrow?
Well, I think this is significant because the first round on Sunday is going to be 11 o'clock. So the conditions might not be quite as good as this, but they're going to be the best in eliminations and possibly comparable to this. We'll have to see what the weather shows. So you're going to want to not only go out here and try to make a good run for your qualifying position, but also to get the information. And even though the track will be hotter, you can get information from one lane to the next, like if there's bumps at certain points like we talked about, that will definitely help you out in the heat, because once you know where those bumps are and they'll show up even on a good run, you can say, okay, when the track gets hotter, we got to be much more careful in those areas.
Well, and you want to be in the top half of the ladder, right? I mean, you don't want to be down there in the bottom where you don't have lane choice in that first round of eliminations.
You always want lane choice. Even if the lanes are perfectly even, you want lane choice, because we've seen a number of times on race day where one round, all of a sudden, your one lane will go away for whatever reason.
And when is the only time lane choice is not important?
When you don't have it.
When you don't have it.
It's kind of an interesting matchup because Matt Hagan lost in 2nd round in Maple Grove 2 weeks ago to Robert Height. And, of course, that adversely affected Hagan's hope for picking up some more points. Well, they both come out like tears. 429 for Hagan, 436 for Robert. Hagan is now in 3rd spot, and Robert Height is into the field at 11.
Well, Hagan's going to sleep good tonight. I'm not sure Robert will.